Hey guys, it's Jordan and welcome back to my channel. Today we are talking about something that's very near and dear to my heart that I have been doing since I was a wee youngin', and for that very reason it was a very hard list to compile. And that means we are talking about my favorite ships. By that I mean relationships. Let me tell you how hard this list was to compile. I was like, do I just talk about my favorites, the ultimate ones that have stuck with me through the years? Do I talk about it in like a chronological order sense? But that got really hard because so many of them started at the same time, and then I was like, but some of these I don't care about anymore, even though they were like huge parts of my life at one time. So how do I organize this video? Yeah, it was a struggle. I ultimately came to the conclusion that we're going to talk about the ships that have stuck with me through the years, that when I think of my one true pairings, those are the ships we're going to talk about today. I do have a mix of like TV, movies, and books, so I'm going to save my two ultimate long-term top of the line ships for the very end. So let's just go ahead and dive right into probably some of the earliest of my ships. I would be surprised if you haven't seen Titanic. If you're one of those younger kids who was born after Titanic, I could see how maybe you haven't seen it, but if you haven't seen it, then that is a travesty. This movie and these two characters, oh my gosh, Jack and Rose. It's a classic upper class girl. This is a trope that you're gonna find is really common throughout these couples. I just realized that. You have the wealthy, well-to-do girl, and you have the, not bad boy, because Jack's not really a bad boy, but he is of much lesser means than Rose. Traveling across the Atlantic together on the Titanic. Because it's on the Titanic, it obviously goes very wrong. I was 5 when it came out. I know I had seen it when I was really young. It was so long that it took 2 VHSs to put the entire movie out. I loved the first one because it had all like the happy, them getting on the ship and just all the fun dancing and everything. And then the second VHS was the ship sinking and all the sad death and dying. When I got older, we got it on DVD and I actually had to watch the whole thing through. It was really traumatic. I really did not like the way that movie ended because for so long I never knew how it ended because I never watched the second VHS tape. I was probably in junior high, maybe like 7th grade, when I finally like embraced and respected and appreciated the love of these two characters. Whenever you talk about like your OTPs, does Jack and Rose not come to mind? Right about the same time, although definitely not released in the same time. Noah and Allie. I first saw this movie in probably 8th grade. It came out in 2004, so I saw it like a year or two after when it came out on DVD, because obviously I didn't go see this in the theater. And I remember watching this movie as a 12-year-old and just being like, that is what one true love is, and that is what I need in my life. Obviously at 12 years old, I have my head in the clouds a little bit. I remember sitting at the lunch table in 8th grade talking to my friends about how much we absolutely were in love and enamored by Noah and how we just were obsessed with their relationship. It's the first Nicholas Sparks book I read. It's what got me into reading Nicholas Sparks. My best friend doesn't like The Notebook and I just don't get it. I don't understand how you can't watch that movie and just be like emotionally just distraught over it and just so sad and happy and just like all the feelings. It took her like 6 years to watch this movie. When she watched it, she was like, I'll pass. I was like, how? I will never forget the feeling of satisfaction when Allie comes back from her meeting with Lon and you see her pull up to the plantation house and Noah built her a freaking house. This movie also started the idea that I want a guy who's gonna build me a house because Noah told my 12-year-old self that a guy needed to build me a house. So Luke and Lorelai were probably my first TV ship I can remember. I shipped Luke and Lorelai most out of any couple on that show. I love the relationship. I love the like bickering, like long it took them to get together. It took seasons and seasons and it was just like torturous to watch. But then when they did get together, it was still like perfect. I still loved them. They still were torturous to watch because they had so many obstacles and difficulties and it was just always hard for them, but they always worked at it and they always made it seem possible. Always rooted for Luke and Lorelai the most on that show by far. And I had just rewatched all of Gilmore Girls and I still rooted for Luke and Lorelai the most. I actually forgot how much I loved Luke and Lorelai until I rewatched it because, you know, there are ships that you were really involved with when you were younger and then as you get older you're like, yeah, I loved them, but are they still my favorites? Rewatching the show showed me that Luke and Lorelai are here to stay and they are a favorite. This one gets me a little emotional. Nathan and Haley from One Tree Hill. These two go through so much together. This is like one of those couples who got together in the very first season and are together until the very last season, with several bumps in between. You can tell when you watch the show and when you think back on it that regardless of all the detours they took, that they were always going to find a way back to each other, that they were always going to. I really want to rewatch One Tree Hill now. I freaking love that show. I didn't come into watching the show until season 3, and season 3 is not a good place to be introduced to Haley, because if you start there, you're probably not going to like Haley. It took me a long time to get on board with like the Haley and Nathan train. Nathan has so much hatred and animosity and anger towards Haley in season 3, and Haley is like groveling on her knees begging to save her relationship with Nathan. I mean, yes, the relationship, it's a little bit of suspension of, you know, belief there, because the relationship is in an interesting place for high school students. They're not my favorite couple from One Tree Hill, I'm gonna say that, but they are still amazing. And watching their relationship grow and watching them grow up with each other, because so many people who are together in high school don't end up together later down the line in life, and you get to see them grow together and go through high school and college and adult life together, and I just love them so much. I highly recommend you watch One Tree Hill if you haven't already. Another one that gives me a lot of feels is Stefan and Caroline. I've wanted these two together since, well, I don't know, like season 2. I can't remember when Caroline gets turned into a vampire. Really early on in the series. Ever since Caroline was turned into a vampire and she was like guided by Stefan, I've wanted them together. Each had several relationships along the way, to the point where the series is at right now, where I was shipping them and they were not on board the ship with me. They were just like in lifeboats on other sides of the ocean with other people, and I'm like, guys, I'm sitting here waiting on the Caroline ship, and I'm gonna sit here and I'm gonna wait because you two are gonna get your act together. They're like the classic best friends who you just like really wanted to be together. They worked so well together. They had such great friendship and they had really good chemistry like as friends, and you could tell that they'd make a great couple, but they just weren't getting the hint. Then things happened, they get pulled closer, then they get pushed away. They get pulled closer, then they get pushed away, and you're just like, oh. Producers finally give it to you. They don't really give it to you because there's extenuating circumstances that prevents them from being together. Like push and pull relationships where it's like, will they, won't they? Are they gonna get together? Are they not? Can I ship this any harder? Caroline's a really good one. It is one of those long game situations. End game. Oh, I hope it's still end game situations, because if they change, this one's a little fresh, but I really like them together. I think they work really well together. I think that he was a crucial component to Caroline becoming the awesome vampire badass character that she has become. Now I have some book ones. We haven't talked about any of the book ones yet. Those were all TV and movies. So if you've been on this channel for a while, you know who my top 3 favorite book couples are. This is not going to be a surprise, but let's talk about the one that might be a bit of a surprise. Anna and Kaiden from the Sweet Evil trilogy by D Higgins. I just love how they complement each other and how they push each other to be better people and be stronger people. Like, they're a couple who are stronger together than they are apart, and they just grow so much. I just love them. Kaiden's one of my favorite book characters ever, and I just love how Anna was able to bring out this goodness in him that he always had but wasn't ever able to like fully harness. You read Sweet Temptation, which is the series from his point of view, and you just like see all of the push and pull between the light that he wants to be and the darkness that he is forced into. Beautiful to see how much Anna was contributing to his growth. He is so sweet and kind to her and like really vulnerable with her and honest with her towards the end of the series, not so much in the beginning. As their relationship progresses, he becomes a much better character. That's really what a couple should do. Your partner should be able to make you into a better person, not a worse person. And I just love it when that's really exemplified in ships. So I'm always here for that. And Anna and Kaiden definitely represent that. Next we have my Sarah J Maas ships. Now, to be honest, I have a fleet of Sarah J Maas ships. Mor and Asriel, Nesta and Cassian, Sandra and Adian, Elide and Lorcan, Anon and Dorian. I could build the British Navy circa, what, like the 1700s, when they were the best, biggest, baddest navy in all of the world. I could build that navy out of Sarah J Maas ships because I have so many of them. I have 2 that are above all else. Rowan and Ellen. I can't talk about them coherently because I have no words to describe the love I have between these two characters. This is a relationship that is really like hate to respect and friendship to love. I just love how they meet, and it's like this really bickering, bantering, hate, I'm gonna kill you type of situation, because that's another trope that I love, and that's hate to love. They start off with a pretty strong hatred, and they grow like this really beautiful fondness for each other, like this respect and this friendship and this like camaraderie. It's a beautiful friendship, and I think that they work really well as friends. But then things progress even more, and that is equally as wonderful and tortuous and beautiful. I have thoroughly enjoyed seeing their relationship progress. He always has her back, and she always has his back, and they have such a great partnership because it's founded on such wonderful friendship, which is founded on this beautiful journey from hate to love, and it's all beautiful, and I love them. The last book in this series is gonna kill me. I really hope that my beautiful babies come out together and come out alive, and that they're all happy, and I don't think I could survive anything bad happening to this ship. The Sarah J Maas better not blow holes in my ship. My second Sarah J Maas ship is a pretty popular one among everybody, including people who don't even like Sarah J Maas. Phaedra and Rhys. What do you say about Phaedra and Rhys other than they're perfect? I don't really know. I loved Rhys when we first were introduced to him in A Court of Thorns and Roses. I felt kind of guilty liking him because he's kind of a douche. And he does some pretty questionable things in the first book, but then you read the second book and you're like, oh, well, I've been totally wrong about you. You're just misunderstood. Literally. Like, I misunderstood. I misinterpreted everything that was happening in book one. Another one that's like hate to love. It's not as long of a process, but she definitely goes into it not being a fan of Rhys whatsoever and being pretty hellbent on causing him eternal misery. When you find out like everything that's going on behind the scenes with Rhys, it's just, oh, it crushes your heart, it crushes your soul, it gives you so many feelings that you don't know what to do but curl up into a ball on the floor and cry, because this is beautiful. It's pretty well known that almost everybody ships these two together. I don't think I've ever heard somebody who read the entire book and didn't ship these two together. Maybe just a handful of people that I know of who are in this boat, but they're in a pretty small boat. Almost everybody else is on the Phaedra ship. Like a cruise liner, we gotta fit so many people on their ship because there's just so many of us supporting them. Math hits you in every single feel. And in feels you didn't even know you had. Okay, we're gonna talk about my two favorite OTPs of all time now. These two give me the biggest feelings ever. Let's go ahead and talk about my favorite couple from One Tree Hill, and that is obviously, I love Lucas and Peyton so much it like hurts. It hurt me when they left the show. They left after season 6. It hurt to watch One Tree Hill without these two characters. One of those couples who get together in the very first season, very briefly, for like an episode. Things don't work out, and then they become friends, but they always have this like tension, you know? The sexual tension, it's always there, never goes away. And then you watch the sexual tension while they date other people, and it kills you. And it's hard to watch because they have such good on-screen chemistry, but they're both in opposite lifeboats on opposite sides of the ocean in other relationships, and they're hurting each other and they don't even realize it, and then it's just, it's a lot of emotions. And you have like the whole issue with Brooke and Peyton being best friends, both being in love with Luke. People who were Team Brooke and Team Peyton, and how it's like, Brooke doesn't have a chance, people. Lucas and Peyton are two of my favorite characters of all time. It's one of my favorite ships of all time. I have so many feelings associated with these two characters, and seeing them come together and being thrust apart, and coming together and being thrust apart. It's one of those relationships that when they finally get together, it is the most satisfying thing. Lucas and Peyton, always and forever, my second favorite couple of all time. My favorite couple of all time, who I love so much, Damon and Elena. I shipped them from the very first episode of the very first season. Damon was the biggest asshat on the planet. I mean, he's consistently an asshat. He's like an onion. You peel back lots and he's got a lot of layers. He's got a lot of different sides to him. Depending on what decade you're talking about, he's got a different, you know, persona. Damon and Elena just had some of the best on-screen chemistry ever, and I shipped them from the very beginning. Her interact with Damon the whole first half of the show, but she was with Stefan, was horrible for me, because I was just like, I want you to realize that you are meant to be together. Stefan, when are you going to back out of the way? It's like a lot of push and pull. Will they, won't they? They get together, then they're not together, then they get together, then they're finally happy, and then obviously things go wrong and they're no longer happy. I just hope that the series ends with them being happy, because if you didn't know, Nia Dobrev, who plays Elena, left the show, so Damon is obviously currently not happy as he is not with Elena since she is not on the show. But she is coming back for the final episode, so I'm hoping that we can amend some things and that they can end on a happy note, because if they don't, I will probably cry. I will definitely cry because I have been shipping these characters for 8 years now, 8 seasons since I was 17 years old. This is my last show from like my high school teenage days that's still on. It's like that last piece of nostalgia for me. So I have a lot of emotions connected to these characters. Again, it's another one of those couples where the girl character really shows the male character how to be a better person. Because she believes in him so much, it makes him want to be a better person. So those are my top favorite OTPs. I have a lot more that I didn't include. Clearly I'm an expert shipper. I should be the CEO of FedEx or UPS or something because I'm just that good at shipping. I would love to know what are some of your favorite OTPs, movie, TV, book, what have you. Who are the couples that you root for until the day you stop breathing? That's a little dramatic, but you know what I mean. Thank you guys so much for watching. Until next time, I'll talk to you very soon. Bye!